everybody, Sean here from Somm Wine Club, and I have got some wine for you. This is the 2021 Domaine Gassier Nostre Païs Blanc. This is from the appellation of Costières de Nîmes in the southern Rhône Valley, part of the September Somm Wine Club box. And this is a winery that I really, really love. Domaine Gassier is a family estate. They have been producing wine in Costières de Nîmes since the 40s, and the current fourth generation of the family, Michel Gassier, who's been making wine since the early 90s, is currently in charge of the domain, along with their other property, which is Château des Neiges. So, Domaine Gassier and Costières de Nîmes. Costières de Nîmes is the furthest south appellation within the Rhône Valley. And you might think that being further south, that would mean that it's also the warmest appellation within the Rhône Valley, but that's not exactly true, because once you go further south in the Rhône, your proximity to the Mediterranean increases, your exposure to the cool, humid air coming off of the water actually goes up, and so counterintuitively, further south and closer to the marshes and closer to the Mediterranean, this is actually a cooler region than some of the other better-known southern Rhône appellations like Châteauneuf-du-Pape or Gigondas or Vacqueyras, which are a little further north into the east. So this is a traditional white Rhône blend. It's 80% Grenache, 15% Claret, and 5% Viognier, done for 8 months in a mix of French oak and cement tank. And that would be all great. But there's something special about Domaine Gassier and about these wines in particular that I want to touch on. So in 2015, Domaine Gassier received their EcoCert, their European Union organic certification. And that was a great start for them, but they were not satisfied and started looking at ways that they could improve upon the organic farming that they were already doing and the certification that they had. And when Michel Gassier's daughter Isabelle came back from California and joined the family estate, she kind of has spearheaded this move towards something that I've talked about before with another wine in another box, and that's regenerative agriculture. So they are in their transition process to regenerative agricultural farming, which is really focused on soil health, on biodiversity, on carbon content in the soils, and just generally creating a more healthy and comprehensive biodiversity within the wine region and within the vineyards. So doing all of these things to kind of improve the quality of the wines and improve the quality of the wine region and the health of the soil, to me, is so important, but also ends up impacting the quality of the wines to a great degree and creating these really magnificent, well composed and expressive wines that are really representative of the terroir of Costières de Nîmes and of the southern Rhône Valley. So let's taste it and see. It's a pretty, to me, classic white Rhône nose, lots of kind of pithy white citrus fruit. You're getting like lemon brine, lemon peel, yellow apple, yellow pear. It has a little bit of this kind of underlying nuttiness, like blanched almond, like not roasted, not like super intense nutty, but more just kind of like subtle nut character, which is coming from lees. They've spent 8 months on the lees in those oak barrels and cement tanks, so that really gives the wine a chance to absorb a little bit of that leesy, nutty character, adds a lot of complexity, and is going to add a lot of texture as well. I love this like salted herb note to the wine as well, like sage or laurel, these like kind of woodsy green herbs that are like then kind of minerally and salty at the same time. This wine is really so much about texture and about feeling and about the way that it kind of moves around in your mouth. It has viscosity and weight, but with an incredible amount of freshness. 2021 was a vintage that had so much acidity. Grenache Blanc isn't typically known for having super high acidity, but that vintage kind of had inherently a little bit more acidity, so they've actually allowed a little bit of the white in barrel to go through malolactic, which gives this wine another dimension. It gives it some kind of soft, creamy elements. The acidity is still very present and very refreshing. And there is what I love about Grenache Blanc, this kind of tannic bite to it. Um, it's not fully tannins. I mean, it is, but it isn't because it's white and they don't see a ton of contact with the skin. So it's different, but it's something that we can refer to in white wines as like dry extract or phenolics. You feel kind of this subtle bitterness, this lingering tackiness on your palate, which I love in Grenache Blanc and other Rhône white varieties. And it just gives this wine another layer and another bump and complexity and length because it lingers on your palate for so much longer than if it didn't have that kind of textural note that you can keep going back to. I can still taste it. I can still taste it. And that makes this wine just so much more interesting to drink. I keep wanting to go back to it because I can still taste it. Now I'm like, okay, now it's starting to fade, and then I could take another sip, and there's no gap in actually enjoying the flavor of the wine throughout the course of your glass. I drink a lot of Rhône white wines kind of as moving into late summer, autumn, because that texture, for one thing, flavor wise, they work so well with fall flavors, things like pumpkin, lentils, nuts, sage, brown butter. So doing like any of those kind of fall autumn squashes are just delicious when you put them against this wine. I'm a huge fan of Gassier, of their ethos and their mission to kind of bring more attention to a lesser known region of the Rhône Valley and Costières de Nîmes. Michel Gassier is an absolute champion of the region and has been instrumental in raising the quality and the profile of these wines. And wines like the Nostre Païs are a great example of that and a really great introduction to the region and to Rhône white wines in general if you have less experience than other regions' white wines in France. You're going to like this one. I hope everybody enjoyed the little breakdown of the Nostre Païs from Domaine Gassier. I hope that you enjoy the wine, and I hope to see you all next time.